We have reached the part of the podcast where we're going to be talking some Kentucky Derby, and Gino has come on the podcast to talk some Derby picks. Gino, how you doing today, my man?
Good, man. It's been a crazy day. In the last 24 hours, there have already been 3 horses scratched out of the Kentucky Derby. Rumors that another horse or two may end up being scratched in the morning, but nothing's been official. So usually in the weeks leading up, you'll see a couple horses that get hurt along the way, but all within the last 24 hours, 3 already out and possibly more. A lot of drama, lots of things changing. So all those 3 also eligibles are now in. And if anyone else scratches, there are no more also eligibles. So it'll be a less than 20 size field.
Now, you mentioned there's a rumor that one of the favorites could be scratched. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, just some not great news surrounding Forte, who's the morning line favorite. And I don't know anything, just again, rumors, nothing's been confirmed anywhere, but what's happened so far this week at Churchill Downs, they've had a couple horses that have already gone down. They've already had to ban one trainer and have him scratch all of his horses that were in different races over the last few days. I think with what happened the last couple of years with Bob Baffert, the fact that he's still dealing with like litigation and was challenging the ruling, they're going to be very careful about any horses that look like they have anything close to an injury in letting them run. So I would just imagine that if there's anything that seems like it's, a 50-50 call, they're going to side on the side of caution.
Now, you came on my show earlier in the week. You said you were kind of on the fence. You really don't have a strong opinion. The horse I liked is the 17 Derma. I'm not even going to pronounce
Derma Sonagachi. You're great with names, so you would have loved this one. This is a horse from Japan. This is a horse who won the UAE Derby. We've never seen a horse from Japan win the Kentucky Derby, but over the last few years, we've really seen the Japanese bred horses win some of the biggest races in the world. Just this year, they won the Saudi World Cup and the Dubai World Cup. And some of the reason why is it's like anything, Eric. The more you start from the ground up, right? There's no just magic formula. What you have to do is they bought a lot of really good stallions and really good breeding operations, and they set it up from the ground floor, and they developed really strong horses. They bred them, they trained them well, just like you as a coach, right? The way that you prepare your players is, how they become the best. And now Japan has done that. They have a legitimate shot here with this horse, Derma Sonagachi. He's not just like one-dimensional. He has speed. He can close. He can pass. This is a legitimate horse. Some of the people that I know that make speed figures, sometimes it's difficult to compute how a horse running in races in Japan or in different countries will stack up to races here with the different race tracks, the different style, the different speed, everything. Because this is a Kentucky Derby, a couple folks who make figures for Timeform US do a really great job there. They put a lot of time in to trying to translate those figures that Derma Sonagachi has run, and they wanted to be really cautious and just kind of conservative with them. Said this horse really fits. Like, he fits with this group. If it's a group that I don't feel like there's a standout, this is the year that it could be a horse from Japan that could do it, because it's going to happen soon, Eric. And like anything, you want to get in front of the trend before it's not even really a trend or anything. Nobody cares about it anymore, right?
Now, he's coming out of the 17 hole. Now, this may be a silly question. Let's say if horses scratch, do they, you know what I mean?
He just moves down.
Does he move closer?
The horses to the outside, they just move to the horses that are on the also eligibles list. They get put on the outside. So everybody else comes inside, and they all come down one. They stay the same number, but they just come down one in the stall. So they get a little bit better post. Now,
isn't it, if you don't want anything 15 and out, is that like cutoff?
Here's what has changed. I'm glad you asked. It was a good question. They used to have a setup where it was auxiliary gate. They would have multiple gates right? So because they didn't have a starting gate that was big enough to have all 20, but that's not the case anymore the last few years. So if you're looking at statistics that are like that, where they show certain spots, like the 17 spot, I don't think has ever had a winner, but there have been winners just inside and just outside. It's not as if all of the horses from 15 and out can't win because they're so wide. It's just sort of a fluky thing. And I think the fact that there's not the same starting gate that there used to be, some of those statistics might be irrelevant. In the Derby, you can get in trouble from anywhere. I think if you like your horse, unless there was a specific horse that maybe you really liked that drew the one and they had a certain style, there wasn't too much based on the post position draw that bothered me. Or if I were to like one horse, it wouldn't have really made me change my opinion because of where they drew.
Now, I'm a pick 5. I'm a pick 4 player. What are the horses that I have to have? If I said, Gino, I have money for 3 horses in my last leg, what are they?
Derma Sonagachi, who we just mentioned. The other one for me would be Two Fills for sure. Two Fills is a horse who has always been pretty good. He has a really good win at Churchill Downs last year as a 2-year-old. And then in his first couple starts this year, he did not run poorly. He went onto the synthetic at Turfway, and that was when he had a big win last time out. He's training really well. I don't think it's just a synthetic thing for him. I feel like he's just moving in the right direction. Two Fills and Derma Sonagachi are my 1-2. Those are my 2 must-use horses. I'll give you another horse who's a little bit of an outsider, and I think you're going to like this one, my friend. Skinner, who has a new jock jumping aboard, Juan Hernandez from out here in Southern California. Juan Hernandez is a jockey that a lot of people may not know nationally. If you play Southern California, you know him because he's been really good for the last few years. He was the leading jockey against John Velasquez, Flavian Pratt, and Frankie Dettori, some really, really good jockeys. Earlier this year, he absolutely destroyed them. He's going to jump on Skinner for the first time. Skinner's been training really well in the mornings. When I watched this horse, Eric, he was a horse who was out here in Southern California. He was in a lot of races in smaller fields, and he was behind Practical Move a couple times. Practical Move had a scratch today. He was one of those horses. He has a fever, so he won't be running. And in each of the races, Practical Move would get a great trip. He'd get a really nice opening up the rail, and Skinner would have to come from really far back, have to go wide, and he would close and make up a lot of ground, and there wouldn't be a lot between the two of them. I think in a race like this, where it's a bigger field, Skinner can just sort of drop back, and he just needs them to go fast up front. And if they do, he will come closing. I like him, and we'll definitely be using him in some exotics. So Derma Sonagachi, Two Fills, and Skinner would be the 3 for me.
So last year when you came on, and my boy Dan, our boy Dan, still talks about this, you said take the favorite, which I'm spacing on the horse's name from last year's Kentucky Derby, put him boom at
Epicenter.
1. Was that Epicenter? Yeah, Epicenter. Put Epicenter, then everyone under Epicenter, and then flip it, everyone, and then Epicenter at number 2. But it kind of feels with how you feel about this race, it's not as cut and dry, and that wouldn't be a good bet to place.
Yeah, it's a little different because right now, still out, like you're not exactly sure what to do with Forte. We'll see what happens in the next, day or so. What I would do that with is maybe with the horse, if you really like one horse, maybe put all over that horse or 1 or 2 horses, right? So for me, like we we're saying, Derma Sonagachi and Two Fills, maybe I play an Exacta where I play all over those 2. And not necessarily the favorite, but the horses that you like the most, and you put them in the second spot, and you catch a bomb on top. You also play the flip way too, right? So that way, if the horses you have win, and then a crazy long shot comes in second, that would be great. So you play it that way. If you particularly like one horse, so for you, it would be Derma Sonagachi. You could do all over Derma Sonagachi in an Exacta, and then play another one where you go Derma Sonagachi over all. So if he wins and then a crazy long shot runs second, you have the whole field.
I gotcha. Now, something that we did last year, and I love doing these big races, I'm going to pull up Betonline. They do these head-to-head matchups. Now, you gave out 2 of them last year. Both of them hit. Let's see what we got cooking this year. We don't know what's going on with Forte, so we're just going to kind of
skip it. And for the record, that one, I mean, I don't like taking minus 395, but I would absolutely take the field versus Forte. And so let's say for the purpose of this conversation we're having, every horse that we're going to talk about that's still declared in the field, we're going to talk about them like they're fine and running.
Okay.
Because it's hard to speculate. Like if you bet any of these matchups and Forte's not in the race,
it's refunded.
It's refunded. And for the purpose of how the race unfolds, he's not like a crazy speed horse. Him coming out of the race won't really change the complexion of the race. It'll make other horses shorter prices a little bit overall, but it won't really change the way the race is run.
I gotcha. So we got Forte against Tapit Trice. Tapit Trice plus 135. Forte minus 155.
Yeah, I think I like Tapit Trice there. Tapit Trice has actually taken a big step forward from his last 2 starts. What I like was Tapit Trice is really sort of quirky. He's kind of his own worst enemy. He's like a really talented player, like a prospect who hasn't maybe grown into their body yet, but he's starting to, and he feels like his mind's figuring things out. In his most recent race in the Bluegrass, he had a slowish start, and he kind of usually does that, but then his jockey asked him to move, and he moved real quick, and he got in a good spot. And then he sat, and he relaxed, and they asked him to move, and he moved again, like closer into a good spot. And then he asked him again, and he moved, and he sort of wore down Verifying, and Verifying got the most perfect trip you could have asked for. Verifying was supposed to win that race. Tapit Trice was supposed to finish second that day. I think he's getting better. I think his mind is improving as well. And as soon as that catches up with his body, he may have like the most upside, maybe him and like a Derma Sonagachi of like any horse in this field, as far as if they were to all show up and run their best races with their A game, I think Tapit Trice would win.
Oh.
The only concern is it's tough to count on his A game because he kind of will
banking on him bringing the best.
But if he gets a good trip and like he's starting to loom up, he's going to be scary.
It's kind of like old school Catino Mobley. You don't know what Mobley you're going to be getting. You don't know what Mobes you're getting.
You never know.
Angel Empire, and then my guy
Derma.
DS.
Yeah, I like Derma in that a lot as a plus 150 for sure.
Angel Empire, King's Barn.
I mean, I don't really like the value on either of them. I would prefer Angel of Empire over King's Barnes with the 2 of them, but I wouldn't really play that one based on the value.
Verifying and King's Barn.
I like Verifying there. Verifying is drawn down in number 2. I don't think that'll really hurt him too much because he has a good amount of speed. The horse right next to him doesn't really have very much speed. I think that horse will drop back. Verifying should kind of go forward, but he doesn't need to be on the lead. I'd like to see him sitting right behind. So I could see him, as long as the rail doesn't get him in trouble or being down close to the rail, he could sort of get out of trouble and stay close. I'm not really all that sold on King's Barnes, right? So I'm Verifying in that one.
Now, what on these head-to-head matchups, because you play more of these than I do, what's your price point you won't go over on a head-to-head?
Probably like minus 250 or so. Okay. I just wouldn't. If it's something that's like that, I'd find a different way to play it than just laying the 250, right? Because especially in a race like this in the Derby, like horse could just miss the break. Any of these horses could get stuck in trouble, and then it's just completely out the window. So just make sure these are fun to play. I always get involved in a couple of these head-to-heads. Just make sure the value is right for you. Take a swing at a few of them. Don't necessarily lay really, really big numbers on these.
Verifying and two fills. Two fills is getting plus 115.
Man, absolutely two fills there. Yeah, really like that one. That's my favorite one on the board so far.
Two fills and confidence game. I haven't heard much about confidence game.
Yeah, two fills for me too. Confidence game. The problem with him, he hasn't run since February. He was supposed to run like once or twice in a couple different spots, like weather. Then they wanted to give him a little bit more time. Then they decided instead of running closer to the Derby, they'd rather have a horse who's a little fresh. So they waited on him. They trained him in the morning very, very well to get a lot of fitness and stamina into him. But not only will he have the layoff, he's going to have to improve on top of that. Like, he's raced a lot, so he has some seasoning. I just don't know if his races that he's run so far are good enough to win it. So he has to improve on top of not having raced since February.
Mage and confidence game.
I go Mage in there for sure. Yeah, that one's playable, minus 125. The only problem with Mage, he's another one of those horses. He's kind of like a little slow starter sometimes, but he's super talented. And if he stays out of trouble, he could run a really big race.
Skinner and Mage.
This is kind of a fun one. Probably lean Skinner slightly, but that's a fun one. The value on both of them, it's pretty accurate, I'd say.
Skinner and Hit Show.
Definitely Skinner there. I wouldn't want to go too much higher with Skinner though, as far as laying money, but I prefer him over Hit Show at that price for sure.
Rocket Can
and Continuar's out. They just announced right now. So he was a Japanese horse. They wanted to announce in front of the Japanese media. You and I are recording. They announced about 45 minutes, an hour ago. So this is pretty fresh.
Reincarnate and Jace's Road.
I'd lean Reincarnate. Both of them are speed horses. I just don't like the way Jace's Road is going. He feels like he's sort of moving in the wrong direction right now. So I'd prefer Reincarnate there.
Disarm and Raise Cane.
Not really a fan of either of them that much. So I wouldn't really dive into that one.
Rocket Can and Cyclone Mischief.
Cyclone Mischief drew in today on the also eligibles list. I'd lean Rocket Can there. I don't think either of these horses could win. I do think Rocket Can could clunk up into third or fourth.
My boy and King
Derma.
Sure. I need to get my horse right, dude. This is the horse I'm betting on. Derma
Sonagachi.
Derma Sonagachi and King's Barn.
Yeah, you're getting it. It's just the Derma, Soda, and then Gake. The last part is a K-E. So K, Soda Gake.
Soda Gate.
Yeah, there you go. I like him in the King's Barn one. Below that, Hit Show and Disarm. No real strong opinion there. And then the bottom one, Continuar's out.
So out of these, the one that you'd probably say you'd like the most was up here. Two fills over Verifying.
Yep. Mage over Confidence Game is a good one. Two fills over Verifying is the one I like most. Verifying over King's Barnes is fine. Derma over Angel of Empire, probably my second favorite one on there.
Now real quickly, Wet Paint Forte double 12-1.
Now, the problem with both of Forte, he could absolutely win. He just doesn't like tower over this field as you would want for a favorite in a race like the Kentucky Derby. Wet Paint has been very good, but she is a stone cold closer, and she's gonna have to face probably the 3 or 4 best fillies she's ever faced all in this race at the same time, and she's gonna have to run by probably all of them. So I'd go no on that one.
And now I hate these, so we're not going to do it, but I wanted to get your opinion on them. When they have 3 of them with the best finishing position, I feel when you have 3, there's too many variables.
Yeah. That one of that group, I definitely like Derma, though. I actually think that's not bad value on Derma Sonagachi of the 3 with King's Barn and with Verifying.
2 fills plus 175.
Yeah, that's not bad with fills either. The next group of 3, I don't really love either of those groups of 3, really.
What about
the top 2 would be okay.
Cox to train the Kentucky Derby winner? plus 350. Yes.
Well, you and I are hoping no, because if it's Derma Sonagachi, it's not Brad. It's not Brad Cox. I also let me just, the 3 horses I gave you are not Brad Cox horses. So for me, at least, I'm hoping it's not. I mean, he obviously could. You go from Hit Show, Verifying. Trying to think of who got scratched today. If any of his, Jace's Road, Angel of Empire, and the Coxes, those 4.
And then the last 2, winning distance, over or under 1.5 lengths.
Yeah, I'd say under. I just don't think it's a group that has any monsters, and there's not all that much separation between them. That's why I give a horse like Derma Sonagachi from Japan a look in here.
And then the last one, over under 2 minutes, 1 second, and 30 seconds.
I wouldn't play that because the weather, it could be raining, things could change, and then that sort of goes out the window because they change the track, they scrape it up a little bit, they try to get the water off. So time stuff, I would steer clear of, because those could change a little bit. Too many variables, I think, with those.
Gino, I'd like to thank you for coming on. One quick question: best bet of the Kentucky Derby? Like, what is your bet? Are you going to bet to win? Are you going to bet across the board? Bet a head to head? If you could only place one bet, what would the bet be that you placed?
Yeah, I'm going to play the 2 horses that I said, Derma Sonagachi and 2 Fills. I'll probably wait, because now with a couple of the scratches, we'll see what the prices will be. I think 2 Fills will probably be the horse I end up betting to win, but any sort of pick 4s, pick 5s, I'll have a lot of them with those 2 horses. Then I'll have some where I add in horses like Skinner, probably throw some Mage in, and Tapit Trice on some tickets, maybe Verifying here or there. Those are some of the underneath horses. If you're looking for a real crazy long shot to include, Sun Thunder will be on a couple of my tickets, at least underneath. He had some sneaky trouble trips, and he's probably going to be like 50 to 1. I got one of the biggest prices on the board. Oh. So, he might be fun to at least throw in, in the bottom of your Exactas and tries.
Now, the horses that you say you like are probably going to be 10 to 1 or higher, I'm guessing, just looking at the board right now. Will you just play to win, like 2 Fills? Like if 2 Fills, let's say, is like 13 to 1, will you just play him to win? Or since it's the Kentucky Derby, where the place in the show will be a little bit more of a payout, will you pay him across, or just play to win?
No, I usually don't play horses across the board. I'm usually just a win player for the most part. If I like horses like that, I'll try to get him in Exactas and tries versus playing them to place and to show. I think it just sort of dilutes your win money, and I think you can make more money playing them in other ways than just playing them to place or to show.
Gino, I'd like to thank you for coming on during halftime of your boys. You know?
So, no worries, man. Anything you need, anytime. It's not as if you haven't helped me many a times.
So everyone, please give my boy Gino a follow at It's Me Gino B on Twitter. He has a podcast that comes out at the beginning of the week, and then Thursday and Friday, Gino and I, every single day, there's an NBA game. We're going to be live on Fast Break Bets. If I go too fast when I say that, I always mess it up. Yep. So we're going to be live on Fast Break Bets Monday through Friday, 5 p.m., and then Saturday and Sunday at noon. And in the description below, we have some promo codes for Thrive Fantasy and DRF. Make sure to click those links if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure to give my boy Gino a follow, and we'll talk soon, my friend.